All right. Well, let's see where we are here. I lost you guys. There you are. Okay. Hey guys. Welcome everyone. Welcome to the Stallone Podcast Network. Oh, I gotta mute myself in the background so I know it's working. One sec, guys. That's a good sign. There we go. Okay.
As normal, it's a tip-top operation here.
Well, yeah, I do apologize. So, welcome to the Stallone Podcast Network. I am one of the three hosts of this Stallone Podcast Network. I run Going the Distance, the Rocky series, and now Creed podcast. And why don't you, Doug, why don't you introduce yourself and who you are on the Stallone Podcast Network?
My name is Doug Greenberg. I'm one of the hosts of Rocky Minute, where we break down the Rocky movies 1 minute at a time.
And people want to know, Doug, what's going on with season 3? Give us the update.
Oh, man. We're getting there, I swear.
He caught whatever the SlyCast has.
Yeah. Yeah, we're suffering from the same illness. No new episoditis.
And Craig?
I'm Craig from the SlyCast, and once every leap year, we release a new episode. So you can next expect to hear Assassins as we travel year by year through Stallone's career. So between all three of our shows, you get like a complete look at the career of Stallone. I mean, you don't need the pop, Ryan. I mean, everybody loves your show, but what you're doing with the Rocky series and now the Creed series is, I don't think anybody else has ever done what you guys have done in terms of the microscopic look at a movie. There's plenty of Rocky 5 episodes out there on the internet for people to listen to from a podcast, but there's not a whole season devoted to Rocky 5. You know what I mean? So I think it's really cool what you're doing. And I'm glad you decided to proceed and do the Creed movies.
Yeah, me too. Thank you for that. It's very kind of you. Well, I'm excited, guys. This is our Nighthawks coverage. So we're going back to going live. That means we'll have 3 people watching this as we go live, but that's fine. People can jump in. They can laugh at us.
It's generous that you think we're going to have 3 people.
Yeah, no kidding, eh? Well, we got 7 now. That might be our record.
Is it right now? There's 7 people watching?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, yeah, give it about 2 minutes.
Actually, do me, you, and Craig count because I'm also watching.
It probably is counting us as well. And I want to let people know who are subscribed to our channel. I'm sorry that we don't stream the movies. People come onto our channel, they get so angry because we don't just stream the movies. It's a movie discussion site. I find people that are not from the US, they're very confused by the fact that people talk about movies in a podcast format. I don't know why that is, but they come on here in a different language and get very mad at us. I translate it, and some of the things they say to us is very unkind. But anyways, we're doing Nighthawks, so let's.
Those reviews are just comedy gold, by the way.
Yeah, they are fun. They are fun to translate. They're not safe for work.
The 2 idiots one was pretty good.
Yeah,
the latest.
I still think they were talking about Sharon Stone and Sylvester Stallone. I don't know how you keep comments turned on. I mean, I have very limited content on my YouTube channel, and I think I turned off the comments on the content that I really care about because I just don't have the. Maybe for the comedic effect, I should turn them back on.
Well, you
should.
You would get nothing but nice things. SlyCast is like still the godfather of the Stallone podcast. Okay, let's roll into Nighthawks, guys. I'm actually very excited to talk about this film. I'll start by saying that this is, drum roll, the first time I've ever seen the film.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I had. It's one of those films because I'm such a Stallone fanatic. I've seen, I would say 98% of all of his films, or whatever the number is, a large portion. But this is a film that came out when I was 6 years old. And so when time kind of just kept going, and when I was a teenager, it was not always available, Blockbuster or whatever. It was just this film that kind of always escaped my viewing, and just as time went on, I was like, I'm never going to get around to watching this thing. So I'm really grateful that we have this podcast in a weird way that it forced me to watch it. And I've seen many of the scenes. I've seen the tram scene. I've seen, of course, the big reveal at the end scene on YouTube, or just, when you're around movies, as long as you're just around movies, you see these sequences a lot. But I don't think I've ever seen the story laid out in whole. And we'll talk about some of our favorite scenes, what the movie meant to us, whatever. But that's the beginning part is that this is the first time I've seen it. What about you, Doug?
Yeah, first time. I've the only thing I've ever really known about this film is Stallone in a beard. He had like a very very big Serpico sort of look, and I think throughout the years I kind of always confused the two because he looked so much like Serpico. But yeah, I think it's a far different film than Serpico is, but like right around the same time, that 1970s feel, very heavy in the 70s vibe, with the music, with the outfits and everything, the disco.
Yes.
But it was first time I saw it, and I was pleasantly surprised. I don't know if you want me to hold that for later, but
yeah, we'll get into this, of course, some of the details. Craig, why don't you speak your part? I hate to do this, but I'll be right back. Just keep going.
Yeah. No, this is actually a cool broadcast for me, because when we did this episode, or when we did this movie on the SlyCast, it was when we were still doing that, a couple of, we would do a couple of years and just lump them all together in one episode when we were planning to, let's see, is that Ryan's garage? Is he in the basement, I think? But, we would do Stallone 1980 to 1985 minus the Rocky and Rambo movies or whatever. So Nighthawks was one of those episodes, I think, that got lumped in with Victory, and maybe one other movie. So we didn't really get to talk about the movie in detail. We sort of did our compressed review of it. So I'm looking forward to this full coverage of it. And in addition to the disco soundtrack, you also get almost the entire Brown Sugar by the Rolling Stones, which has to be a rare occurrence. I mean, especially for that time, you weren't really, I don't think the Stones were a band that was probably easy to license for a movie.
I think, since we're talking about it, we're going to go back to our old format of we're not going to go in sequential order. We're not going to explain the movie necessarily beat by beat, because if people want to watch the movie, they can go watch the movie. We'll just talk about scenes that stood out to us, just like we're doing now. The Brown Sugar, I did make a note of that because it played forever. So there's two theories. One, well, it's a great song, but two, they paid the rights for it.
That's what I was thinking, right? They're we paid $150,000 for this song. We're going to use every minute of it.
They used every minute, though, and the whole sequence, of course, was just of them looking in the bar for Wolfgar. That's the two detectives played by, of course, Stallone and Billy D. And they're just looking around this club. It's how long can we drag looking for this guy in the club sequence? But yeah, it was a fun sequence, and it was a great. Of course, it's a great song.
Yeah, let's just spiral into the music and mention that the score. It's kind of a unique score, and I guess at the time it was kind of gimmicky to bring in a rock guy to do the music for your movie, but this score was done by Keith Emerson, which is kind of a big deal.
Well, do you want to explain what band he's a part of?
Well, he was in Emerson, Lake and Palmer, ELP, which was a big prog rock band in the 70s. And, he had a multi-decade career in music. He took his life within the last 2 or 3 years, I believe.
2016. Apparently it was reported that he took his life after he watched this film again.
Oh, good.
Wow.
That's a callback to our SNL episode last month with Norm Macdonald.
Sorry. I was waiting to drop that one a little bit later, and then we're bringing it up now. So,
is that your big gun that you
Yeah, good little suicide humor never hurt anybody. All right. Look at them. It's on Doug there, just shaking his head at me. Okay. So let's move on. Well, let's talk more about the soundtrack. I did like it. It was like a rockin' soundtrack. It had funky bass, jazz mixture, rock. It was a mixture of everything, and then mixed in with it was actual songs from a lot of. They must have spent a lot of money on music rights, because there were songs from everywhere. The one band was the Alan Rosington band or something like that. Did you catch?
Oh, from Leonard Skinner.
Yeah. So what's the connection there? I did a quick Wikipedia on who this band was, but were they members of Leonard Skinner?
Well, Gary Rosington was the guitar player, one of the
Okay.
guitar players for Leonard Skinner.
And
I
so,
think he's the only one that's like still alive and playing with the band.
okay.
Like out of all their guitar players, the other two are dead. And I think the Skinner's keyboard player's dead. So I think Rosington might be like the only like original or 70s era Skinnerd guy still with Skinnerd. Although I'm sure there's people yelling at their screen right now or their speakers saying how how wrong I am.
That's fine. We shouldn't say, as we always do, that we're not experts on anything. Obviously, people, if they really want to just read, there are podcasts. I admit there are podcasts that do this. They just literally read from Wikipedia. We can do that, but our reviews are more about how we felt. Silly things that kind of stuck out to us. We're Stallone podcast. So what was Stallone like in the film? What did he look like? Things like that. And actually, I do want to talk. We talked at the beginning of how he looked. He had the beard. Was this the last time he had a beard from this point until Rocky IV?
I would think so, yeah.
And I think the Rocky IV beard was actually fake.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine so because, like, what's Rocky IV going to shut down production for, weeks, really? I mean,
Or you film the beard scene first and then you shave it for the other scenes.
either way, I mean, if you think about Rocky IV was also filming around the same time where the production of that was concurrent with, well, not concurrent, but filmed in very close proximity was Rambo First Blood Part 2. So it's not like Sly had a lot of time to sit around and grow a beard.
Doug, you're on mute, buddy.
Am I?
You're good
am I
now.
there now?
You're good now, yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that's a shame if it was fake Rocky IV because I love that beard.
It is actually. I'm 90% sure. I'm like 90% sure it was a fake beard.
Well, look at the beard here in Nighthawks and compare it to the one in Rocky IV. I mean, this, Nighthawks is pretty much his natural, it's a well-trimmed, it's a well-groomed beard. I mean.
Well, Doug, do you have the synopsis of the film before we get too?
It's been so long since we did one of these that I forgot to do it.
Okay, well, I'll just do one off the top. I'll do one off the top of my head. You guys fill in the blanks. I mean, I just literally just finished watching it 2 hours ago. Basically, you've got two undercover cops who work in the street crime unit, and their job is basically, well, the movie opens with a woman who's
not the only time he's in drag.
okay, yeah, like Stallone. Yeah, I don't know. He was tapping into something, some regressed feelings here. So he not that there's anything wrong with cross dressing. However, he's wearing a mask. Now I hadn't seen this film before, but I'm watching it, and of course I got the high def going, and I'm like, that is
a weird looking lady.
yeah, I'm like, okay, that is a weird looking woman, and I love how this is 1981. They didn't have any female police officers.
I was just gonna say that's the absurdity of that scene. Really, it's like, come on. There's plenty of. I'm sure there were plenty of women officers.
Maybe
that
not
could
in the
work.
street crimes unit.
No, but they still can have her play the bait, and then they come do what they're going to do to. So basically, I guess crime is so rampant they can literally just put a woman on a street, and you're going to have four guys raping her. I mean, that's.
It was New York City in the late 70s, early 80s. I mean, it was a dangerous time. I mean, I'm not gonna. I was a kid, but I mean, the New York City that we know and love today is a lot different than the one from back, from 40 years ago. I mean, even if you watch like Jason Takes Manhattan, which most of it was filmed in your neck of the woods, Ryan, in Canada, but they did film in Times Square, and that was Times Square when it was like porno theaters. And there was a chance you could get mugged. I mean, so even watch like Jason Takes Manhattan, and you'll see the scary New York City.
I think it steadily got worse through the 70s and really like hit its peak under Mayor Dinkins in the 80s.
Yeah, well, remember like Bernard Goetz? Do you remember that?
Yeah,
Ryan?
Yeah, the subway.
He was like a subway vigilante.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like he would ride the subway, and he had like a pet rat, Doug.
It was
Weird too.
he would wait for people to mess with him, and he would shoot him.
It was like a real life death wish.
Yeah, it was insane.
So Louise Mazel just chimed in. He says he can't stay too long. He does listen to the shows on the audio, and he says, but he just wanted to check out some of the live recording and show you Mofo some love. So thanks, Louise.
Awesome. Thank
Cheers,
you.
Luis.
Okay, Drew's also there chiming in. He said that the club scene is his favorite scene in the movie. Yeah.
Nice.
It's a good scene. We'll get into that. But so this movie starts off with the big mugging or the attempted mugging. Of course, Stallone's character, which his name is Deke
Silva.
De Silva. Sorry, Double D. So he takes off his mask and reveals that Doug's shaking his head at me all the time. He takes
because this is your synopsis. This is like your 2-minute synopsis.
No, I'm kind of going a little bit because I do have notes. I did take notes at the beginning, so I'm kind of going. We can talk about certain scenes because this opening scene is worth talking about because he's in drag. He beats up the muggers because he's a guy. Guys can beat up guys, but girls can't beat up guys. And
he didn't beat him up right away.
Yeah,
there was a foot chase with him in stockings and a nurse dress. Chasing down these muggers.
Probably better than running in Converse, right?
You would think so. Those orthopedic.
But that guy he's chasing, I believe that was a famous stunt guy named Tommy Rose, who probably seen in like a million movies in the 80s. You saw him get shot, set on fire, thrown off a cliff. That dude was he was like, the one of the go-to stunt guys.
Okay, nice. Okay, and let's talk. So when this movie started, we have, of course, Sly or Deke does his fight with the bad guy at the fence. They beat him up. He takes the scarf and strangles him, and he arrests him. And then he drags him under arrest on the pavement back to his vehicle, I guess, or something. And he's dragging him by the scarf on the pavement, and he's reading the Miranda rights to him as he's dragging him, and he ends the Miranda rights with "Amen." And then, but so I'm thinking at this moment, this is now 6-7 minutes into the film. I'm like, oh, is this a comedy? Am I supposed to?
You said you didn't know at that point.
Well, I knew that it had some grittiness to the film, kind of like a 48 Hours. 48 Hours was a gritty comedy, or even Beverly Hills Cop was kind of a gritty comedy. This is the 80s, right? But he's dragging the suspect on the ground, which I don't think is legal. I don't think you guys are allowed to drag.
By your neck? Probably not.
No. With the scarf around him, reading the Miranda rights. But anyways, then I'm thinking, oh, this is a bit of a comedy. If you want to right now, why don't we talk about the attempt at comedy throughout this film? Do you want to point out any references to the comedic bits that fell flat, I thought?
What? Was there any attempts? Because I didn't get any. What are you...
Well, just the idea that the lightheartedness, like the partner between... Matthew Fox, played by Billy D. Williams, and De Silva, played by Stallone.
I loved their chemistry, by the way.
Okay, but they were
great together.
Yeah, they were good together, but they were like elbowing each other at the brief and stuff. It's kind of like they're playing like this is stuff you do in 8th grade. I don't know. It felt weird that they were doing this like, yeah, you're touching me. I don't know. I guess it was supposed to be funny because it wasn't supposed to be funny. Then I didn't get what they were doing. They were being silly with each other, like, oh, you're such a troublemaker. Did you not really like, oh, stop causing trouble? And then he flicked him with the pencil.
I don't know. I didn't really get too much of that.
I was watching this pretty heavy. I was. Oh, okay. Did you guys catch all the Rocky stuff?
Well, Joe Spinell.
Mm-hmm.
That's the big one. Yeah, so Joe, who plays Gazzo. Okay, there was his ex-wife, played by Lindsay Wagner.
Why even have her in the movie? I mean, like, what a waste.
Well, there's
a bionic woman. I mean,
right. Well, there's actually more to talk about that because there's some deleted scenes that happened in the film between Lindsay Wagner and Stallone that would have had more of her in it. There was a scene at the end of the movie where they went out. Remember they had that phone call conversation? They were supposed to go on a date.
Mm-hmm.
They filmed that, and it was the end of the movie, and it ended with her saying that she wasn't going to remarry or be with him again, and had Stallone's character crying.
And he had a breakdown or something, and it ended up getting cut.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would actually say I know Sly is getting ready to prep a Rocky IV director's cut, but I think in the fandom there's two movies that people would rather have the director's cut for before that, and I think Cobra is probably the first one on most people's list, and then the other one is Nighthawks, which Stallone has talked about. I think didn't Stallone talk about like a 2-hour cut of the movie?
I would like to see, because there's a lot of deleted scenes. But speaking of deleted scenes, again, remember we talked about the specialist that rumor has it, or the trivia has it, that Stallone was a little bit
jealous of James Woods.
Yeah, because James Woods is a scene stealer. He's a very charismatic actor, and I mean, we love Sly. We love him, but just because you love your favorite band doesn't mean you can have a favorite band. It doesn't mean they're the best musicians in the world.
I know what you're about to say, and it kind of bugged me to hear this, that even this early in his career, like this is, I mean, yeah, he had Rocky and Rocky 2. Yeah, Rocky 2 was out at this point too, right?
Yes.
So I guess it
was just
his
about to work
britches
on.
were a little big.
Yeah, so Rocky 2 was out, big success. So yeah, what we're speaking to, folks, if you didn't hear our specialist coverage, we talked about, or don't remember, we said that James Woods, scenes were cut. And it's obvious in the film with the editing, some scenes didn't quite make sense. James Woods' side character didn't quite make sense. It seemed like she was a bigger character because she was in more scenes with James Woods. And now you can argue, yes, movies are cut because of timing and flow. But again, this rumor was that, during this filming, Rutger Hauer, who played Wolfgar, this was his first big film, and he did a great job in his debut film, a Norwegian actor.
First American film, yeah.
Yeah, first American, sorry. He was a Norwegian actor, and he obviously did a great job.
Actually, wasn't he Dutch?
Yeah, Dutch.
I thought he was from Norway. Okay.
No, Dutch.
Well, he worked a lot with the Dutch actor Paul Verhoeven, who made RoboCop.
We'll have to ask Seiko if he's a national treasure like Paul Hogan is in Australia.
So rumor has it he also killed himself just after he watched this film. No,
Jesus Christ.
So
what you're saying about, like him recutting around James Woods to like kind of shine more of the spotlight on himself and less on James Woods. They showed two versions of this film to test audiences. One that highlighted more of Wolfgar's character, and one that highlighted more of Stallone's character. And the test audiences liked the one that showed more of Rutger Hauer, and that pissed Stallone off. So he like went into the cutting room and just sliced it up and recut it. So it featured him more.
Okay, help me out here, guys. How much? Like, okay, that's fine. Okay, so it just goes to show that even back then, again, we love Sly, but he's got to be the first one to admit that in the 80s and in the 90s, he's admitted that he had an ego. He admits it. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have. I don't think he has that anymore the way he did, but it was very much the case. It was in his 30s, mid 30s. Like, we get it. He was young compared to 74. I think he's humbled and wiser now. That we all are when we get older. But all that being said, I'm just saying that we're not trying to crap on it, but we're to explain this might be the history of his life. And but it's, how is it that the studio allowed that? I mean, is that normal for actors to meddle with editing that much?
It all depends probably on the contract he had. He might have had a clause in his contract that he had a say in the final cut or something like that.
And there was somewhere where he took over production of the film after they fired the first director.
Well, that director, he's got. I mean, he wasn't an active working director. He had a proximity to John G. Avildsen. He played the ring announcer in the first two Karate Kid movies. And he did I think a documentary and a Steve Guttenberg movie. He wasn't really.
He did Hard to Kill. He did Hard to Kill with Steven Seagal as well.
He was the replacement director, the guy that they fired the first time. I don't know what the guy's name was.
Yeah, I forget his name too. He was a Disney Channel worker or something, or Disney film worker. He wasn't able to show up, and so Stallone directed the first day of filming, and that whole subway scene, I guess, was done in one day because Stallone directed it.
The subway scene where they're chasing him on the train or down the abandoned tunnels.
I don't know, one or the other. probably the one
well,
that has.
that was all part of the same sequence anyway, the same foot chase.
And then of course the Directors Guild got really they were very strict about that. They were very unhappy that Stallone did directing, even if his director didn't show up. They were like, no, you got to wait.
Well, the studio made a plea to the Directors Guild, and they allowed it.
Yeah,
but they allowed it.
Yeah,
I'll take a hot take here. I actually think that the movie benefits from having less Wolfgar. And he's the villain. And I think anytime that you limit the villain's exposure, it makes them more powerful of a villain.
Like the shark in Jaws.
Exactly.
No, I agree. You're right. And so there you go. Like we say this about Sly. Maybe it was a combination of maybe give him some benefit of the doubt. The guy's a creator. He is a creator. Yeah, there might have been a part of it's like, oh, yeah, Rutger Hauer is stealing the show, but it's not his show. It's not called Wolfgar. It's called Nighthawks. And Nighthawks refers to the cops that work the street crime unit at night. They go out there and they take care of the crime at night. And so it is based, or it's about the guys that work the night shift.
Yeah.
I think it's also interesting to note that Stallone did not write this movie as well, or co-write it. So that's probably him exerting himself in post a little bit too, because we're so used to Stallone being involved in the scripts of his movies. Even if it's like, the Creed movies where every Rocky scene Stallone wrote every bit of dialogue for. But this movie, he doesn't have any credit from a writing perspective.
Well, we're talking about Rockyisms though. So one of the first things I caught, and this happened near the beginning of the film, and I was like, oh, I wonder if we're gonna get more of these, and we do. So one of the first things we get is his ex-wife, I forget, Irene, her name's Irene, played by Lindsay Wagner. She says to Stallone's character, "Why can't you change?" I almost expect her to say, "Everybody else does." And so I just thought that it just being a Rocky fanatic, of course, that is a common phrase. But there's two films, like only 4 years apart, where the question is asked to the main character, played by Stallone, "Why can't you change?" And then his character made these weird little sounds to his. Did you catch that when he's like rubbing her face? He's like, "Come on, kiss me."
Yeah. I had that written down. That like, I feel like he's gonna say, "I'm gonna kiss you. You don't have to kiss me back."
I'm gonna rub your cheek. You don't have to rub mine back. Oh, Sly.
But he's got her cornered. He's stroking her face. It was very reminiscent of the Adrian first kiss.
All right, so we're talking about Rutger Hauer's character. He kills a lot of people in this film.
Yeah,
like he's a very effective killer.
You have to give. I mean, the opening body count from he blows up that department store. I mean, how many people were in that store?
This is going to be a really deep cut for you guys. But
okay.
Do you know who the counter girl that he talks to? What other role she played?
Oh no! Tell us.
She was Maggie in The Last Starfighter. Other
wow.
nerds in the house?
No, I know the film. I
love that movie.
Funny enough, I think the first director might have directed that film.
Let's find out.
The one that got fired. Okay, so while Doug's looking into that, let's talk about that opening sequence there with the bombing. Very well done. It shows you how ruthless this guy is. But do we get what organization or what his message is as a terrorist? What it is that he's trying to, like, if he got his end game, what his end game is?
He was part of some bigger movement, but they kind of wrote him off after, because they said that there were children that were killed in that bombing. So and he was like too much of a loose cannon for them, or so they wrote him off. So he was pretty much on his own. But I don't know what his platform was. Like, what was he terrorizing for?
Because no country was ever mentioned. No agenda of really. He just said he spoke for the people that don't have a voice.
Well, and he gives that note to Stallone for the press at the end of the on the tram car, but we never know its contents. Ryan, watching this for the first time, did you think that Rutger Hauer kind of looked weird in that opening scene?
Okay, you know what? To be honest with you guys, like I know Rutger Hauer obviously from Blade Runner more than anything. I know who he is in other films, but I'm not a huge fan of his. Like, I've followed his career, so I admit at the very beginning when that gentleman with the beard walked into the department store, I'm like, I know he plays the bad guy. Now he's putting a bomb under the the counter clerk's desk or whatever counter, and so there's a part of me is like, oh, was that Rutger Hauer? So I was actually really I kid you not, I went on Wikipedia and I went on IMDb to see if somebody else played Wolfgar. So however they did it, I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm still not convinced that was Rutger Hauer playing the guy with the beard. Am I wrong? Was that him or not? Do you know the answer to that?
No, that was him. I mean, I think they built up his nose a little bit.
Okay.
Because they talked about him wanting a more slender nose. So I think it was mainly whatever prosthetics they did for his nose and the beard, and maybe he looked a little puffed up, I think. However they did that. It was definitely him.
Okay, I know I sound like an idiot, but there was a part of me that truly I got tricked because I don't know the actor very well. Like if it was Stallone being disguised, like we all know it's, like it'd be very hard to to disguise Stallone. He would have to have so much prosthetics on to not, very distinct features. We know him so well. But I admit, I was like, is that a different actor? Did they just get? I didn't know because it was a young Rutger Hauer too. Like he was young looking. I almost know more of his older years look. Yeah, it was great. It was great. They did a great job.
For the record, Gary Nelson was fired. The first director, the director of Last Starfighter was Dick Castle. So you were wrong.
Oh, well, I wonder what the connection was. I did some sort of it might have been a soundtrack producer or something because that came up in my IMDb wormhole. Okay, speaking of body count, I love his first when he's at that college party. And he shoots the courier and the 3 police officers through his guitar case. Now, do you think he would have been able to pull off the kills without the guitar case, or was that just a fun little?
I guess he was
offered some cover, right? I mean, if they had seen him holding a gun, they probably would have approached him differently.
But there was like a microsecond. They came up they ran up the stairs and they had 2 seconds, and he laid them. Like what I loved about that, there was no brief or there was no standoff or anything. He literally they ran up the stairs and they looked up and they got mowed down in a very bloody fashion too. There was a comment here by Drew. He wants us to answer this question. Better partner for Sly, Billy D. Williams in Nighthawks or Kurt Russell in Tango and Cash?
Oof. You know what? This is going to be controversial because I'm a huge Kurt Russell fan. If I had a list 5 actors that I'll watch any movie they do, Kurt Russell's probably on that list, hands down. His performance and his chemistry with Stallone in Tango and Cash is awesome. But I got to say that there's the scene where Billy D convinces Deke to take the assignment. And I think that scene is a phenomenal scene. I think Billy D acts it wonderfully, and I think Stallone's performance in that scene is great. And it was just watching Billy D work with Stallone in that scene. For me, I have to say that Billy D was the better partner.
I loved Billy D. I loved him in this. I actually there was I wonder if there was more of this part of him too, because at that drug bust, he really went off on that one drug dealer that had the kid inside the house, and you really believed that he was going to blow that guy's head off right there. So I wonder if there could have been more about why that hit him so hard. What was his?
I know why
his involvement. Why?
Probably
is this going to be a stupid joke?
Why? Oh my!
He saw the movie and killed himself.
yeah, Billy D saw the movie and he killed himself. No, why is it? I'm not everything I have is a joke. I'm serious here. I think you're making me sound. See. No, I mean this is legit. I had to do some research of why they were so angry in that room. I missed it because I didn't have subtitles, so I thought I might maybe miss some. They were undercover police officers who were crooked. They were bent coppers.
Were they?
Yeah. That's why he was so mad at them. I think it was somebody he knew. Because I was like, why is he acting like he knows this guy?
No, there were other cops that they paid off. So it seemed like the drug dealer was like, I already paid off you guys. Why are you?
I think there was one in there as well or something. Okay. All right.
It could be, but
maybe we'll find out in the reboot that's going to be on the Peacock Network streaming service.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I actually am. I think that'd be great because it's going to be a Balboa production. It's his first TV production. That's kind of cool.
Now, do they have Peacock up in Canada or?
Yeah, we can get every streaming service we can pay for here as well. Actually, no, I said that. I don't think that's true. Actually, no, you can't. because I know the CBS All Access is not available in Canada, so I assume NBC is the same. But a lot of those shows are all access. This is totally tangent, but like for example, Picard.
Yeah, it's on Netflix in Canada, right?
It's on our Crave. It's called Crave TV, but it's the same thing. Yeah, it's
all right, and
Hey,
Star
Ryan.
Trek Discovery as well.
yes, we get it. Yeah, that's the thing. We get everything that's available on our own paid services here. They just
Where do you
contract
get
it out.
Lower Decks?
I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know. I'll let you know. Okay, yeah, Doug. Sorry.
Hey, no, I owe you an apology because I'm looking through my notes here, and there was, in the briefing, Fox gets De Silva with a hand buzzer, like one of those old fashioned.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right. They're poking each other with their elbows. There was a
Yeah,
hand.
all
I
right.
knew there was something. There was a hand buzzer gag.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're right.
All right.
I
was like,
apologize.
anyways, when did 48 Hours come out? Was it-
82 or 83?
Okay.
Let's find out.
Yeah, it had to be. Well, it was before Beverly Hills Cop, which was 84,
Okay.
Yeah,
and
I
then
wanna
when
say
was Trading
82.
Places? Yeah.
1982.
So the surgeon that reconstructed Wolfgar's face, just so you know, he doesn't work on Sundays usually,
It's the Lord's Day
and that is the last Sunday he ever worked because he got
Yep.
killed too.
on the Lord's Day.
Well, this whole plastic surgery thing.
Little unnecessary.
Well. First of all, like he did the surgery like that day.
Yeah,
Like
It
there
takes-
wasn't any kind of pre-op preparation they needed to do,
blood tests.
or
blood work.
assistance or anything
Yeah.
like that. And then also the thing that really bugs me about this is, you have to factor in recovery time. We're talking a couple of weeks, 4 to 6 weeks probably before he looks normal again.
Mhm.
I actually
but-
thought.
but-
Sorry, go ahead.
No, and then also there was a detail here that pissed me off because the only reason that they know that Wolfgar has changed his looks is because he used a caliber of bullet that is like specific or tied to Wolfgar. Like, why would he do that?
Yeah, that's a very good point. This guy is so willing to not be caught that he changes his face, but he leaves forensic evidence behind that leads. Yeah, so you would think somebody who's that criminal mastermind. No wonder his terrorist group doesn't want anything to do with this guy. He's not usually a loose cannon, but he's not very bright. He's just chaotic and a killer. Maybe he's not the brightest guy in the world.
It could have been a line like, I wanted, they could have done a line where he's like, I wanted them to know that I was still out there, but now I look different or something. But like the way it looked, like you said, it made him look completely incompetent because it's like, wouldn't you use a burner weapon or something, or something that couldn't be tied back to you forensically?
And
why
go ahead.
would you have a calling card in the first place? Like you use the same caliber bullet every time.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Well, and I wanted to say, so now we're talking about his looks and his change of his looks. Why don't we skip ahead a little bit here? We're going to go all over the place.
Well,
But-
they could have. I'm sorry, just
ahead.
real quick. They could have shaved his beard, cut his hair, and dyed it, and he would have been a completely different person.
Yes.
And the contact lenses so he could have blue eyes.
Yeah, that was very specific. He wanted those.
Well, I like how the doctor, when he asked for blue eyes, he looked at his eyeball like he's going to take it out and replace it with another eyeball look. It's like, just give me contact lenses. The guy went up to his eyes like, yeah, I think we can make those eyes blue. Well, with
That's
what?
how they corrected vision back then, Ryan. Don't you know?
Yeah, they just scoop out the one and put in another.
That's right.
So how did Stallone's character? How did he had a drawing that he was working on? What was his reference? I mean, he had the picture of what Wolfgar looked like pre-surgery. He just, I guess, assumed what the natural alteration might be. How would you know that? Like, if put it this way, if I went to a professional artist, I said, "Look, you're not going to know, but I'm going to get my face mucked up so you can't recognize me anymore. Draw what I'm going to look like." How would the artist know? How did Sly's character even have any idea enough that he was able to ID him at the bar? Say, look, if I just erase this little line here on his cheekbone, it's him.
I think it was like they were trying to focus on his eyes. I think he saw something in his eyes. Like, I don't know, like that dead psychopath look. I don't know what it was, but then in the middle of the bar, because he had the drawing with the beard on, in the middle of the bar, he pulls out the drawing and he's like, wait, what if he did this and this? And like he erased the beard and drew some cheek lines.
Well,
And then also, like,
that guy's right there.
How dark is it normally inside of a bar or a nightclub?
very.
Too dark to
like,
put that connection together.
Yeah, this had the movie lighting or whatever, but he was what, 25, 30 feet away?
Yeah.
And I thought the first two guys that he saw that resembled him were him.
Right. And well, what's funny is he altered the picture to match the guy. He could have done that for anybody. Hey, why don't I just make his nose a little bit smaller and make his cheekbones a little bit more sunken in? It's that guy right there, the bartender.
You think Billy D was humoring him?
Yeah.
Why don't I shade his skin here to make him look black? It's that guy right there. You know, like, geez. Anyways, that stuff was kind of like, you know, there was an intelligent movie somewhere in this movie. I haven't really given my thoughts on the film as how I feel about it. Rutger Hauer saved the film overall. Every scene that he was in, he was good. Even though it's the plot devices that he had to act in weren't very good. That wasn't his fault as an actor. And the fact, I think all the moving parts of the actors did a good job. I think everyone in their role of what they did, I think they brought it to the table. I think there was a film in there somewhere again that got mucked up on the editing table. I don't know.
I don't know either.
It had a bad flow. It didn't have a very good flow, and there's a lot of plot devices. This is what I'm getting at. Like, I know it's 1981, but why did people in 1981 think that just by carrying a picture around, like, there should have been a different way to identify him? It's not that hard to come up with something. I think you and I, the three of us, sit us down for half an hour. I think we could come up with a better idea of how it is they identify him at the bar. Fine, they go to the haunts and hideouts this guy's at. That's fine. That makes sense. That's police work. But why are we going off a sketch of someone who thinks he might look this way? That doesn't make sense in the real world.
Or not even throwing that, they got your passport and they have your photo anyway. Like, if they had, I guess they needed a photo, because was that the only known photo of him, his passport photo?
That's the one they kept showing.
So he had to change his look? I don't know.
So I got my next Rocky reference if you guys want to hear it. So they're at the police force and they're talking to Gazzo, and they've been assigned to the anti-terrorist group from their street crime unit. And he says here, for 9 years I've been working decoy, and now I'm being pulled off, and I want to know what for. Do you get it? Do you get what that's connected to? For 6 years I've been...
Oh, yeah.
For 6 years...
I want to know now.
Yeah, so he actually says it's a different line, but Sly's got to know. I just said this in my most famous film 5 years ago, where I said, for 6 years I've been coming here, you've been sticking to me, I want to know how come. So he says here, for 9 years I've been working decoy, now I'm being pulled off, and I want to know what for. And Gosling should have said, yeah, you don't want to know.
You want to know?
And then I love it when Sly's character De Silva touches Joe Spinelli's character Manufa or whatever his name is. He goes,
he flipped out.
He goes, get your hands off me, sucker. And I'm going to put that soundbite in on the audio feed. Get your hands off me, sucker. Oh.
Bleep out a few things.
Oh,
Speaking of sound bites, and going back to we didn't get to the train chase yet. Do you want to, or?
Well, we get there. We can go back and forth. Again, if people can't follow what we're talking about, we just recommend watching the film, and then of course you'll be able to follow this conversation. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, they're at the end of that, after Fox gets his face sliced, and Stallone and De Silva's like screaming, like, I'm gonna kill you, mother, bleep.
Yeah.
It's like his meltdown is just awesome. And especially at the end, like the last motherfucker that he says, sorry, Brian.
No, that's YouTube. On the YouTube videos, you can swear. I'll edit it for the podcast. So it's fine.
But the last one he says, it kind of like he rings it out and it trails off, and it like the sound turns into the train, like zooming down a tunnel. It's like a really great piece of sound editing.
Stallone's got the great yell. When he's crying over Mickey's body, when he's yelling at, he's got that doing Drago at the top of the mountain. He's got that great guttural yell in his voice. Yeah. He's got a very deep, boisterous voice.
Yeah,
he's got it
real gravelly, and like he does have a great yell.
Craig, you got something? Sorry, we're me and Doug are like. Okay, so
no, I'm just I became a listener for a minute.
Okay, what I love is this terrorist brief. It's the longest brief in history.
Oh my God!
Like, no wonder they're getting crazy. De Silva and so what's happened here, folks, is De Silva and Matthew Fox, the two partners, they've been pulled into this anti-terrorist group to capture this known terrorist who's made his way. Was it New York? I'm sorry, guys. Was it New York City?
Yeah, it was New York City.
Okay, so this terrorist is in New York City. They've somehow got this intel that he's in the city, so they've gotten together all these different organizations, the best from this group, the best from this group. So they got the two best guys from street crime to be part of this anti-terrorist task force group. And
because of their military records?
Yeah, the military, yes, 52 confirmed kills, yeah. And so they're in this briefing, and this briefing goes on forever. It's almost like a montage briefing. In fact, it gets to one point where the intelligence officer from the UK is now asking them questions about characters in this ploy. Like, they're like, it's like a university course. It
was over several days, wasn't? I mean, it wasn't. They weren't cutting back to the same.
Well, they're like, let's go out and get this guy, and he's like, we'll go out and get this guy after this intense training is completed.
Yeah,
he's
I think. Yeah.
And then he goes, name the top 3 successful anti-terrorism raids.
But then Deke makes a great point. He's like, we know the guy's MO. Deke is basically, this guy's a bozo. He always finds a single woman to latch himself onto. It's like, as a street cop, he knew that was the through line or the way to get to him. So like, Deke makes a pretty good point there.
He does, and there should have been a balance. Again, if I was in charge of I can't write a story, but if I was somehow in charge of script, like doctoring or like what does make sense here, I would have said, well, it's important to have the brief. It's okay for the character to be a little bit annoyed by the brief, but by the briefing, but it should have been shortened. We could still see the annoyance of the character being like, let's get out there. But at the same time, my little knowledge in the military, I'm sure Doug, with your as a police officer, this, that it's important to get intelligence before you go out there. You can't just go out in the street and look for the guy. You got to know what he looks like, what his MOs. Like the brief is important. It's like a huddle before a football play. You have to have what's our plan before we go out there.
Yeah, but a huddle doesn't take days and days. The problem is, like, they know that this guy's in New York. They know that he's gonna kill a bunch of people because he wants to get on the news and he wants to make a name for himself. But there's no sense of urgency.
Yeah, that's a great.
Like, have a quick briefing. Like this is where he hangs out. He latches on to single women at these discos and shacks up with them as his like base of operations.
Okay, can we talk about that? What a horrible MO. So his MO is he finds a female that will take him in, basically live with him to store his cache of armory. This is actually his known MO, that he uses a girl's residence to store his good. Why can't he just get an apartment or a basement suite and nobody finds his stuff? Mm-hmm. Why complicate it? Can you explain to me why he might do that?
Just so he has somebody else to kill in the movie, like another innocent person that they want to kill.
We just got Drew just chimed in. He said, "Mention Doug is a police officer in every episode." Check.
It's on your bingo card. Your Stallone Podcast Network bingo card.
Yeah, so no, Ryan's MO. Ryan's MO is make bad jokes. Mention Doug's a cop.
Craig to fall asleep, take no notes.
Yeah, doing no notes and offering up bullshit facts.
Well, Craig ruined your other part of your MO when you mentioned Judge Dredd. When's the Judge Dredd episode coming out?
Well, now it's Assassins. So I think this is the second episode where we've asked about when's Assassins coming out.
Ryan, I got to tell you, the Assassins recording, it was the first time that myself, Jeff Ferry, and Mike Kunda had sat down and podcasted together in a very, very long time. So I'd have to pull the file up, but it's 2.5, 240. I mean, you know what editing's like. I mean, you're an editing beast, and man, if I wasn't such a meticulous editor, I would pop those episodes out. But like, to sit down with 240 minutes of raw audio alone, you have to deal with all the shit on my end, the birds, the dogs, the police cars in my old apartment. So it's just, man, I respect the heck out of the fact that you're able to churn out content the way you are, because I sit down to edit and I'll do 10 minutes of work. It'll take me 40, 50, 60 minutes, and then I'm done for the day.
Now you've created it so I have to edit that whole thing out that you just talked about.
Let me give you a little clapboard.
Yeah. Did you guys catch during the brief what his description of a terrorist is? His 3 things, what he likes?
No,
This was his description. Okay, so first is that he gets a female so he can store his cash or his armory at the house. He likes fancy foods, expensive clothes, and the high life.
Sounds like you.
Oh, yeah. I wear the same shirt, and my wife buys me new clothes because I refuse to buy things for myself. But anyways, he sounds like your standard James Bond villain.
Oh, you're right. That road case that he used, that like the girl finds in the closet, like those things haven't changed the way they look in 40 years. Like at my job, when I go back to my job, whenever I finally go back after this pandemic, like that road case is on a shelf in our office.
And is he just like walking through the streets of New York, like swinging that thing around? She looked like she really struggled to pull it out.
Well, I mean,
that's what she said.
I mean, those cases alone, I mean, he had a couple of guns in there. What else was in there?
Grenades. It's crazy. He had grenades in there. I like how they're all like lined up in a row. It's nice. It's like very neatly laid out grenades. Nice. Did you? I like what she was saying to him. You know, when they had their awkward little first date, where she's mentioning that she's a flight attendant or a stewardess, that she's basically a flying waitress, and her name was Pam, and she works for Pan Am. And then she's all awkward and silly, but she goes, "I like to dance." I felt so bad for her because I knew the kill was coming. But then she goes, "What do you do for work?" And he's like, "Well, I'm an international terrorist and a lady killer." And
like, that was you.
Yeah, oh, you. But that was a great delivery and a great little line there where it's one of those, it's a bit of a trope that happens in movies every now and then where you say the truth because it's so absurd that no one's going to believe you.
Yeah. Yeah. I liked a lot about his character. Yeah, he acted the shit out of this for real.
Yeah.
There was for your timestamp, Ryan, it's 4610 when the English guy Hartman is going over De Silva's military record when he mentions the 52 registered kills in Vietnam, and because De Silva, it seems like Hartman just wants them to find Wolfgar and kill him.
Good point. Yeah.
And without bringing him in, without arresting him, without due process, they just want him whacked. And De Silva's like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not just going to kill somebody because there's too much risk involved with innocent people. Blah blah blah.
They make this a whole thing about him not wanting collateral damage, which I guess is admirable. But they make this a real plot point for the whole film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like maybe there was something years ago and earlier in his career where he, a stray bullet might have capped an innocent person. But that was never talked about.
Yeah, there was really no payoff for it,
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. He was so hesitant about killing this guy because during the briefing, he's like, it sounds like you just want us to kill him. I'm not a killer. I'm not, I didn't become a police officer to be a killer. And everyone in America, no, I'm joking.
Jesus.
Sorry. But what I'm getting at is like, well, he's not really saying that. He's saying that this guy is a killer. He's a brutal terror in the confines of the film. He's already murdered people in London. He's a killer in general. So if you got a clean shot, take the shot. Which is not. I don't think any agency would ever do that. You'd want to always get people alive for information. Information is gold. Just to kill him doesn't. You want to know what his network is. So it does seem odd. A better film might have made this guy a bad guy too, because he wants this guy dead. So this kind of complex thing going on.
There's also that pesky thing called the right to due process. Like the guy,
that's what I mean,
as big of a piece of shit as he is, he deserves his day in court, I guess.
It's true. And to get back to your train scene, Doug, like Fox is so like he's telling Deke to take the shot when he's got the knife to the woman's neck. I mean, like you have to be a pretty damn good shot.
A precision shot, yeah.
I mean, that's like a sniper shot. Like
there is no cop in the world is going to take that shot.
I was going to ask you.
Talking about him, like
I was actually going to ask you that, Doug, because
right there.
Sorry, Craig, I stepped on you there. I was going to ask you that, Doug, because this is, you got your partner's with you, and you saw the scenario. There was nothing on him that was visible for a clean shot, and he was moving around. So there's nothing you can do. Collateral damage, I'm sure, in all silliness aside, I know police officers obviously do not want to harm the public. I can only imagine there's no police officer that would take that shot.
No, you're taking an extreme risk at hitting the innocent, the hostage or whatever, We had a case.
I just want to say before you get to your case, because in that situation, he's using her as a shield. He wants her alive. Like, so it's like she's gonna, he just wants to let him get away. At this point, we don't want her dead. It's not her fault. This whole thing is happening. He's gonna get away. That's fine, because if he just slices her throat, like, he's not going to, because then
she'll die and he'll have an open shot.
Exactly. Okay, go ahead.
We had a case here back in it was years ago in the Woodbridge Center, Craig, the shopping mall here in New Jersey. There was a guy who a madman with a knife took a woman like that, and the cop was a sharpshooter, killed the guy, and the hostage ended up suing the Woodbridge Police Department for for damages, for mental anguish and whatever, because the cop took that shot. So, I mean, this isn't the litigious 1970s, like right. The more recent times here, but yeah, I mean, that's a possibility too.
Oh man, the Woodbridge Mall.
Yeah, good old days, huh?
I caught a film flub. I mean, there's many, but I actually caught a legit film flub. So it was the Rosington Collins Band was playing on the record player. Okay, you follow me here? Mm-hmm. And the first song that was playing was Getaway. And then she pushed the needle forward. And my understanding is, if you push the needle
backwards.
She pushed it forward. She pushed it from the outer inner. She slid it forward. I double checked. And by sliding it forward, you're going to the next song. Well, the next song on the track listing is actually Opportunity. So they had it backwards.
Wow.
Now, do you know every pressing of that album?
Oh, get out of here. Well, I know, no, but I did look. Yes, you know what? Answer your question. Yes, you proved me wrong, and then we'll talk about it.
That is a very, very deep pull, Ryan.
Thank you.
I'm
to call that a film flub is
I really thought she went backwards, though.
No, she pushed it forward. So in a sense,
either way, you don't hear the scratch.
No, she did it very quickly, and she was able to land right on the beginning of the song. She knew that record well. Other than the fact that she went in the wrong order. So we talked about his leaving plan. So he did, to be fair, he left that bullet, right, at the surgeon's office. But he also left evidence at the killed girlfriend's house. Remember what it was?
The map of Wait, what did he blow? Oh, he blew up something in a financial district.
That's right, a little bank or whatever at night. And he left the map at his girlfriend's house after he killed her. Because I was thinking, how do they know this dead girl, has anything to do with the terrorists? And that's how, because a map was left there of the bomb facility.
And that location was circled.
Yeah, So maybe he is doing it on purpose. Maybe it's his thrill being chased a little bit.
Hey, can I want to give some props to Stallone acting.
Of course.
In that scene where Hartman, the English guy, is going over his military record, and he tells De Silva, like, I have a feeling you'll do the right thing at the right time. Like, we talk a lot on Rocky Minute about Stallone's silent acting, his face acting, and he does a lot of that in this part when Hartman's talking to him. He's taking it in, and it's almost like when he mentions Vietnam, it almost is like, in Stallone's mind, De Silva's back in Vietnam at that moment, like thinking about, these registered kills and it being war, and this isn't war,
Yes.
that was war. So it was okay to kill 52 people. And so I don't know. It was a good bit of face acting. And when the commissioner says, like, they go back and forth between Stallone and the commissioner a couple of times, and then the commissioner says good evening De Silva, and then they cut back to Wolfgar. But I wish at the end of that, after he says good evening, they did like another shot of Stallone kind of in that place, doing some more of that silent facial acting.
It was good. No, good pull. Yeah, that scene was good. And Stallone, like I said, he was good in this film. And it made me wish. It totally made me wish that he did more of these type of films. Yeah. A little bit the gritty cop dramas are great. I love cop films and TV shows. I'm a sucker for them. I watch Blue Bloods. I watched NYPD Blue. I watch all that stuff, man. I love the cop dramas and TV shows. So and movies.
Well, blame Rocky 3.
Yeah, maybe. The other Rocky poll. You ready? So, two in one scene. When they're at that function with the UN function or whatever, he's he's made friends with the English guy. They've become friends now. They respect each other and what they do.
I knew right then and there that guy was dead.
Yeah.
Because it was too jolly, too jovial.
Yeah, because they said let's go for Chinese after or whatever. Chinese after tonight's tasking. Let's go to get a bite to eat and hang out as comrades. And he said, "Do you want to pick the place or pay for it or whatever?" And Stallone's character's response was "Age before beauty."
Mm-hmm.
He's that same line 2 years later in Rocky 3.
Oh.
To Apollo when he enters the ring, goes "Age before beauty."
Another Rockyism.
Yes, and then the fourth one was right after that. He runs up those steps. You see him run up those steps? Those are a lot of steps. I think it's almost more than the Philadelphia Art Museum. Maybe he ran up the steps to the guy. Anyways,
yeah. I had one too, Ryan. And right before this, it was 1 hour, 6 minutes, and 4 seconds. He's talking to his ex on the phone when she asked him to dinner. And he says, "Are you serious?" And she says, "Absolutely."
Oh, there you go.
Which is
Rocky's
line.
And another Stalloneism, or there's another Stalloneism, is he keeps saying, "Come on, come on." He always says that when he's in a fight. He does that. Come on,
come on, Creed.
Yeah, well, yeah. I sounded very good. Creed, you know what I'm talking about? What he always does. Stallone does it in every film.
Yeah. You know what? I kept saying after I watched this movie, from the Expendables 2, where he's like calling out Valan. He's like, "Come on, Valan.
Come on, Valan." Yeah, he always says that, "Come on." And they had 911 back then? I didn't know that. In 81.
911? Oh,
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, the guy at the tram called for 911. I just don't remember it being... Maybe Canada didn't have it then. That's all. Because I kind of remember when it was a big thing, and I don't remember... 6 years old when this movie came on. I guess they already had it in the States, so good for you guys. Look at you guys being progressive.
1968, according to the Google.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Hey, when also at that moment, it was Wolfgar's partner, the Shaka, the female, the girl who kills the commissioner, and when after everybody runs and finds the commissioner dead, Manafo, who's Joe Spinell, says they have all the exits covered, and De Silva goes, "Forget it, she's gone." Like, how did he know it was a female that killed him?
Oh, yeah.
Didn't Fox say it? I don't want to take away your point, but I think Billy D said that.
Did he? Did he see? Yeah. Did he see her?
Well, I don't know about that, but it was his line.
Oh. So she's gone?
It could have been a witness at the scene, probably described.
Okay.
It was a woman. I mean,
Drew chimed in again. He said that he agrees that Rocky 3 changed everything. After that kind of success, Stallone was never going to go back to small, grittier movies.
Yep, I agree.
Man,
that's a good point.
It's just too bad. I liked seeing Stallone in this. Though, why was he dressed like a pimp the whole film? Was that the undercover?
With the leather jacket.
Those tinted glasses? Were those prescribed glasses?
Yeah, that was like the Serpico look. I mean, Serpico was a real dude. So I think that was like the undercover cop. Probably they had like a style guide.
He looked cool.
Hey Ryan, in the elevated tram car, did you actually think that he was going to kill the baby?
No,
because I did.
Really, because there's this unwritten rule in movies that has yet to be broken, other than some really obviously bad slasher film. But most Hollywood type films have kind of like the no baby killing policy. There's a few. I don't want to talk about it necessarily, but I kind of knew that this wasn't gonna, that the baby wasn't gonna die. Because remember the reason why? Because he wanted to go back. He wanted to be back in the good graces with his old terrorist group. And the reason why he got kicked out was because the terrorist group was against the killing of children. So that's why he wanted to publicly save the baby, was to show both the states and his terrorist group that I'm not a baby killer. Look, I will carry out this mission, but I'm going to protect the children. See, I feel like this character is a little bit dumb or smart, but he's actually look, Daddy, look, I didn't kill the baby like you didn't want me to. So he made it known that he was going to save the baby. That's why.
One question, Doug. When he kills that one hostage in that tram, he's using a high-powered weapon there. Would there have been like other people that were impacted by that? I mean, it seemed like a weapon that's a really like messy weapon.
No, Uzis are not that strong.
Uzis are. It's the thing about an Uzi is its high capacity. It's still only a 9mm bullet.
So he just shot it. It was overkill, basically.
Definitely overkill. But I think the most collateral damage there would be hearing loss by everybody inside that tram car.
And I will say that
tight space.
That kill was like for drama and for like, oh my, like, because on films they don't really kill very often the hostage, but I like how he just, this one's for you, this one's for you, De Silva. And he just kills her, and then the way they dump her out of the tram, it's very
jumped her out of the tram, dude. She took like a 200-foot drop.
Yeah, the only thing I really, maybe a better filmmaker would have done it. You don't get any reaction from the husband.
Well, maybe maybe he's looking for an out.
he gives Wolfgar like a wink
and $100 bill.
I want to get back to clothes real quick. Who else loved like that Superman shirt that Billy D had?
What was the story behind that?
I have no idea. I mean, it's just another telltale sign that this is a movie that was made 40 years ago, because that's not a logo you would see.
I mean, Superman was big back then. I think the first two had been out by then. Have they not?
Yeah. But what I'm saying is you don't do that nowadays. There'd be probably rights that you'd have to clear and things like that, and they probably wouldn't want to give that kind of rub to a competing franchise or whatever. But
sure. And
it wasn't even like that, like refined of a logo either. It almost looked like a patch or something. Like
it looked out of place for sure.
Well, it was
advertising.
It was like his uniform, oddly enough. I don't know. Like he wore it all the time. Like this, he's a Superman fanatic. I don't know. I do work with a guy, there's a guy that works on our base. He's a civilian contractor, and he works with the clothing logistics department, and he always wears Batman symbol shirts. Every day he's got a Batman shirt. So there are people who are just that nerdy about their likes and interests. Some people even do a whole podcast on one person.
Who are those losers?
Well, there's two idiots on this one at least.
I like that. It says two idiots, but there's three of us. So it just leaves it up to us to say, wait, who are the two idiots?
Yeah, that's what I asked him. I said, there's three of us on the show. Who's not the idiot? I think it's probably,
that's his game.
Yeah,
he knows there's three of us. He says two idiots. Now you three fight it out.
He was dropping a little bit of poison into the water to create internal tension.
That's right.
I'm the odd man out. I think I'm the odd man out. All right.
So, of course. So
of course.
There's a moment when Wolfgar is making his demands to the police department, and he says, I didn't write down the names of them, but he's said like all these comrades that he wants released from their prisons.
Yeah.
And did that remind anybody of Hans Gruber in Die Hard?
Well, yes, yeah.
I wonder if they picked that from this.
I was going to say, I think there's a little bit of similarity in that, and the ruthlessness of the killing of that hostage. Hans Gruber did that too in Die Hard with that guy who was snorting cocaine at the desk. Whatever that was.
Ellis.
Yeah.
Harry Ellis.
Bubby.
Bubby.
Like the moment he said, like, would you ever talk to a terrorist that way? Like, you're dead.
That was improv, by the way, too.
Oh, was it?
That actor. He improv that line, so
that was pretty good.
Oh man. Okay, so let's talk about the end. Doug, did you know the reveal? Because this was your first time watching. Did you know that that was Sly and Drag? Kind of a callback to the beginning of the film.
No, I thought Sly was going to come in.
And like, I love how he's wearing this wig, and it's just plopped on top of his head. He doesn't have like a
the shower cap thing.
It was something to like hide his normal hair, like. And why wouldn't he have worn the absurd mask?
Okay, so repeat the beginning part.
We've already seen that he's a man.
It had a buffering issue on my end, so I missed. Just repeat if you don't mind for the audio. I missed it. So just say again what the issue was with Sly not dressed up properly.
Oh, did you hear me talk about his butt?
That's where that's where I came in, but I missed the how you led up to it.
I was going to say, at what point is it Stallone in that scene? Because when he first comes in the apartment, it's a very slender person with a little bit of a butt, and clearly it's not Stallone, or at least hopefully it's not Stallone.
Well, that's a good question. I would argue that he was working with his ex-wife because she actually walked into the building, so they could have been working in cahoots together. And once the door opens, she goes to the side and he comes out.
And then
he knew it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, at what point did he know that?
Well, it was a plan.
Right before that,
she was a part of the plan. She purposely knew. She knew that he was out there. Like Stallone's character would have said, "Look, this is a dangerous mission or whatever, but you're gonna come home. I'm gonna be in the house right there with you. But you're gonna walk through the door. You're gonna do some dishes in the kitchen. Once that door opens, you're gonna go to the side of the pantry, and I'm gonna come out."
So he'd risk a civilian that he has a relationship with. But wouldn't depend on a policewoman at the beginning of the movie.
Exactly. I know. He's using his wife as bait.
A trained professional.
Hey, Drew mentioned that this movie was originally a sequel to The French Connection or Death Wish. Can't remember which one. It was The French Connection.
French Connection, yeah. And,
part 3. It was supposed to be part 3.
Yeah,
Gene Hackman didn't want to do another one, so they...
Yeah.
It was almost the exact same plot. Apparently, this was very, like, the story was already created, and then they brought in the screenwriter to finish it up. I think it's the screenwriter that did Flight of the Navigators. One of those things. Anyways, so the screenwriter...
I know, Last Starfighter.
Sorry.
Oh yeah.
Whatever that film was. So anyways,
I was with you, yeah.
Thank you. People, you said Last Starfighter. But the point is... it was the French Connection 3 was going to be basically this story, and that's why you have the black cop character on the side, because it's supposed to be Richard Pryor working with Gene Hackman.
Yeah,
and then you would have had some comedy. And by the way, this writer did work on a movie called Flight of the Intruder in 1991.
Maybe that's one of the I don't know. Last Starfighter, Navigator, Flight of the Intruder, Inner Space. Wow. Inner Space. Oh man. So anyways, it's pretty good little ending there with the turnaround reveal, but I love how he takes off the wig before he shoots, cuz like it's almost like, dude, you got a guy with a knife very close to you. And Doug, you know about proximity, capability, and intent, right? So this guy's very close to do some stabbing. I would not take the time to take my hand off my weapon. Right. Take off, because this is really embarrassing that I'm wearing a wig. So I'm going to take this off, because when I kill you, I'm going to kill you like a man.
They should have had a line from an insert shot of Rutger Hauer saying "you," like.
Like he didn't recognize him until he took the wig off.
Yeah. Now clearly you. Now clearly Wolfgar was going for like a suicide by cop thing here, right? Like he didn't think that he was going to get the jump on Deke, did he?
No, he was there to kill Irene.
No, but what I'm saying is once Deke's got the gun drawn on him, like...
Well, he's a caged animal. He's not going to turn around. He's not going in alive. He figures, I might get something in. But he isn't going in alive. There's no way. He knows what he's done, what he's quote-unquote guilty of with the rules of the world. There's no way he's going to be... He's like, well, I'm gonna go out shooting. Why not? It's a fair ending. Of his character.
If you might take him with him, something like that.
And the gunshot violence that was brutal. Like the one bullet. What kind of caliber weapon did he have there to do that kind of splatter?
I vaguely remember reading that ending. There was a lot of editing chicanery there as well.
Yeah, his death was supposed to be a lot more gory. He was supposed to get shot 5 times, including an exploding headshot.
Oh, nice.
That would have been awesome.
Well, it was rated X originally.
It was. It was because of things like that. But this, his death was Rucker. This was the first scene that was shot.
Oh, yeah, that's amazing.
He was. There was a lot of tension between him and Stallone on set, and partly because of this. Because I mean, this wasn't Stallone's fault, but he was burnt by one of the squibs that went off.
Oh. And then he wiped some fried chicken on his pants, right?
He's talking about Lawrence of Flatbush and when Richard Gere.
My God,
did Stallone really start that rumor about the dribble?
I put that movie out of my head.
If you haven't already, go back and listen to
great.
our Lords of Flatbush review. Oh
No,
boy.
That's actually pretty good though, Doug. That I mean, I'm sure like from an on-set perspective, you don't want that kind of thing, but when you have your hero and your villain having some real life, tension,
It could
I think
translate.
ultimately that translates, into the film.
Sure. The one part that was Stallone's fault, I guess, was they yanked the harness back too hard that Howard was wearing, and that was supposedly at Stallone's direction.
Stop.
Yank him harder.
What? Really?
Yeah, we do have to give some props to Sly here. He did that. Speaking of harnesses, he did that stunt
on the tram.
Oh yeah.
From the tram. I mean, it might not look impressive, but you're 200 plus feet in the air. You're over the Hudson River.
East River.
East River. Ryan's the river expert of Manhattan. And it was winter from what I understand. So you're dealing with really cold water.
Yeah.
That's an impressive stunt that he did. I mean,
it is.
He did another one that less impressive, but impressive in itself is jumping onto the back of the moving subway.
Yeah, that's cool.
Kicking out that window.
And he wanted real glass. What is
not,
this
not
guy?
Like
this
the,
guy, guy,
not the movie.
Stallone, just calm down. It's a movie. You don't have to prove your manhood on every beat. But yeah, he to his credit, he keeps saying that he's terrified of heights, but he keeps doing films where he's like a cliffhanger. And this tram. So yeah, he did this. It was 230 feet in the air, legit, and that's why they made sure they got a lot of shots. There's some good shots of the helicopter right next to the tram. That was very close to that tram.
Yeah.
In fact, when the tram does the stop in the film, it goes back and forth pretty good with people inside of it. I'm afraid of heights, legitimately, and this was actually a well-filmed, very stressful scene. I think the tram, the last act of the film with the tram sequence, with the bus sequence, with the going to Irene's apartment, all that was really well done. It was really well filmed and good tension. But yes, Stallone said that he was told to have a Gerber knife on him just in case he fell into the river.
He insisted on it. In case he fell into the river, he could cut the harness off before he got dragged.
Yeah, and he said that it's ridiculous that he even thinks that. He says now looking back,
they were taking advantage of him.
Well, he says it's ridiculous that he would ever think that he would survive the fall, enough that he would have the wits in the freezing water and the fall and the cable around him, that he would cut the... Can you imagine if that did break? Yeah. Then the last film that we'd ever have of Sly would be an unfinished Nighthawks film? That's weird.
Not to take anything away from what he did, but if you guys watch do you guys watch the Impractical Jokers?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah.
Do you remember the episode where they put Joe in the Captain Fat Belly suit on top of the tram?
Yeah.
It was like the Nighthawks tram.
Yeah, that was, and it was high. That was high.
Yeah. He was tethered in.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to send you the clip, Ryan.
Okay, please do. Drew has a question here for us, maybe as we close up here. He asked us, is this Stallone's best movie set in New York? I'm trying to think of other ones.
Is it between that and Lords of Flatbush?
I think so.
So then, yes.
What other New York films does he have?
Death Race 2000 starts in New York.
Oh man, I bet that gets your vote.
Yeah, we're probably missing something obvious that
Sure we are. Drew, help us out if there's other ones that you had in mind.
Yeah, we suck at this.
Before we end it,
what about Copland? I mean, that's New York.
New Jersey.
Oh yeah,
that was New Jersey. Is New Jersey? No, New Jersey. That's not New York.
No, but there's a majority. I mean, De Niro's character works in Manhattan.
All the guys that live in New Jersey work in Manhattan. They're all New York cops.
He did bring up. So he says, Copland, Daylight.
Oh, Daylight.
Yeah, no, Copland I would rank above Nighthawks just because Copland has a better script.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, we talked about this with Rocky 3 and the success of that, of course, with Rambo Part 2. In some ways, did Rambo and Rocky wreck Stallone's career? His acting range, I should say.
Yeah, it changed his career.
Okay.
I mean, there's an alternate universe somewhere where, Rocky 3 didn't get made for whatever reason, and that's where all those movies you want to see are, Ryan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to say that two of the most famous franchise characters ever put to screen wrecked the guy's
No, I'm
movie
sorry.
career.
I meant to say pigeonhole. I hate the term pigeonhole because it's a curse and a blessing.
It changed the path. It changed the path he was on.
Because think about your favorite artist, like your favorite musical artist. Same idea. Like they produce or make an album that they almost are beholden to that style. It's like, crap, I have a lot more in my repertoire, but people don't want to see it. I got famous off of this type of music or this album, and here I am.
That's why this project is so interesting to me, because I've never seen these early movies that before he became that, that Rocky 3 Sylvester Stallone that we, that he came to be. But like these early movies are like, I'm having a lot of fun.
I am too. This was a lot of fun to watch. Yeah, we've done a few like first time viewings have been Lords of Flatbush for me, Death Race 2000 and Nighthawks, and I think there's been another one, but yeah, these early ones I just because there's no streaming service growing up, I'd have to get it from Blockbuster. I just never did, I never caught these on cable. So
Nighthawks isn't the one you're grabbing for the weekend. You're committing yourself to.
Yeah.
Well, there was Ryan. That guy never got back to me. That's John Finkel, but he wrote a piece on this.
He did.
On how this could have been. He did get back to me.
Yeah, it's in our Twitter. He responded with the link.
Oh, I found a dead link. I looked on Google and I found it, but the link was dead.
No, he gave us a live one. I checked it, but I told him I wasn't going to read it till after our review because I didn't want to steal from it.
Oh, okay.
It was supposed to be published in a magazine that recently shut down called Rebeller.
Yeah.
So, Rebeller. A month or two ago, there was actually like some Me Too related stuff I think went on with the way they were running their company or something. So unfortunately, his article got lost in the shuffle, but it's been published on his blog from what I remember seeing on Twitter. I haven't read it yet either because I want the stupid shit I say to be.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Friends of our show.
Not to say that whatever he wrote is stupid shit.
No, and I know what you're saying. I'm the same way.
What you say is stupid shit.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I want to give a shout out to our friends of the podcast, Arms Race podcast. They're great.
Were you gonna say Arms Race 2000?
I was. I'm getting tired now. I'm getting punchy. The Arms Race podcast. They're friends of the show. We've plugged each other, and I often retweet their episodes where they've covered movies that we've covered because I don't listen. They do a great job. They do a better job than I do, anyways. But I won't speak for you guys, but they do a great job, and I listen to their breakdowns of the films that we've covered after we've recorded, and we hit a lot of the same beats. Obviously, we're talking about the same movie, but they've done Nighthawks as well, so I'm looking forward to watching that. And I know they listen to this. I know they listen to these Stallone Podcast Network episodes. I know that, so I want to give them a shout out and thank for their support on that.
Sweet.
So guys, that's Nighthawks. I want to say it would cost $5 million to make, and it made $20 million in the theater. So even at this time with Stallone's career, he wasn't still It wasn't Rocky. It wasn't drawing.
But you know what? I would take that return on my investment any day of the week.
50 to 20 or 5 to 20. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, 4 times the budget.
Yeah, it wasn't a bomb. I mean, $20 million in 1981 is probably 100 probably. So today's money cost $20 million to make, made $100 million. That's a good turnaround. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, $100 million was still a big deal until like 1990. $100 million was a big deal. I mean, we've kind of been,
spoiled by the Avengers.
Yeah, exactly. I do want to talk about the other movies that we had on our slate, though, because I know Doug wants to talk about it. So Nighthawks won against Rhinestone and my pick, which was Animal Crackers. Is that the name of it, Doug?
Yeah. Why did you pick that?
Because I always pick the movie that loses. So
you can't do it on purpose.
That's become your thing. That's Craig's thing.
So my strategy moving forward is I'm going to offer up a movie that's got no shot of winning.
So you're the Ross Pro.
Yeah. I don't want to get my hopes up. I don't want to get excited. And you know what? If by some miracle Animal Crackers gets picked, we're going to have an awesome episode.
Well, yeah, so behind the scenes stuff for our listeners, we all do our independent pick to put it for the poll on Twitter and Facebook, and Nighthawks won just barely over Rhinestone on both Facebook and Twitter combined. And we knew that Rhinestone was the original one that came up, and that was Doug's choice. Is that right? That was your choice?
Yeah.
And mine was Nighthawks because I hadn't seen it, so it was kind of like, selfishly I wanted it to win because I wanted to watch it. But that being said, we knew that Rhinestone was a juggernaut because I think a lot of people want us to break down Rhinestone because of the things that it is. But anyways, so we had to put up a film that was going to challenge Rhinestone. So Nighthawks was that film, and I'm surprised it won. Actually, to be honest with you,
It was tight.
I'm not actually, because again, I think Nighthawks is like, outside of the Rocky and Rambo movies, I'd say it's probably like held like third or fourth in terms of how high of a regard Stallone fans rank it.
Yeah, it is
Well,
highly
I was going to
ranked.
ask you guys, like, I mean, we had some problems with the story or whatever, but overall, like, what was your feelings of it?
Oh, I'll start, and then you guys go, and we'll close it. It was a first time viewing. I did watch with the idea of it was filmed in 1981. There's some filming techniques that I would have done differently. Doesn't mean it's better, but there was some of that guerrilla style filming that was kind of cool to see. Some of the scenes of New York, it looked like the Beirut blast had went through this. I can't believe that city looked the way it did. It, to me, that was the most shocking thing. Was it's a time capsule of what New York used to look like. It was slums and dirty and gross, and I don't know if it's still like that in a lot of areas, but it was like I was legitimately surprised what it looked like in 1980. It was like buildings that looked like an atomic blast that went off, and I know we didn't touch too much on that. So it was kind of cool to see that history of film on history, and to see what places looked like back then. It was cool to see Stallone being kind of cool, the beard, the glasses. His acting was really great in it. His chemistry with Billy D was fun. I think just with a more competent director and a more tightly edited film, we could have had a real classic, a James Bond type, like gritty kind of classic. I felt like at times I didn't know what kind of movie it was supposed to be. There was a comedy buzzer hand moments, and then there was people getting their throats slit. So it was kind of So I think it needed to find a tone to match what it could have been. But I we don't ever give rankings like letter grades on this podcast, but I really did enjoy it. This hasn't been a funny episode, so to speak, because there wasn't a lot to make fun of. It was actually it was an enjoyable watch.
Yeah, I would sort of agree with you, Ryan. I think this movie is held in the regard that it's held because of more its potential than its execution.
Fair.
And that's what I enjoy watching movies from this period of Stallone's career, because like you said, it's before he became that superstar action hero juggernaut. So getting to see him work as part of an ensemble is always a treat. But again, I would say that this movie is remembered more for the potential it had than what it actually delivered.
Yeah, I think I agree with both of you. I enjoyed the movie as a whole. Like, I love seeing Stallone in this role. I love Ryan. I'm with you, man. I love those old gritty New York films when it shows New York as like just a hellscape that it used to be back then. But it was like the city's dark. Like most of the stuff we see is at nighttime. And that really like kind of lends itself to the feel of New York at the time. I loved. We didn't talk enough about Billy D. Williams. He was fantastic in this.
Agreed.
And their chemistry together, like you said, Ryan, was great. And I probably would agree with that Finkel guy, John Finkel, that it might have been a good buddy cops. It could have been Lethal Weapon before Lethal Weapon.
And 48 Hours too. It beat those films.
Hours?
It beat those films.
Yeah, it really could have been something, but
like timeline wise, it came out before those films. Yeah,
I don't know what beats were missed that prevented it from being the movie that it should have been. But I mean, even what we got, I enjoyed.
I like it.
Yeah.
All right, well, guys, that's it. We've hour and a half. That's par for the course. As always, it's a pleasure to talk with you guys. I know we got one review that came in on the feed because we share the feed now. So a couple of the iTunes reviews that come in now talk about us as podcasts.
And guys, this is a point where you guys need to start contributing to that feed. I'm tired of carrying the entire weight of this.
Your back hurts from carrying us.
So this is kind of this is a 4-star review. This guy.
4 stars.
4 stars. He said
5 or 1.
The content. Well, the title is. It ends with an exclamation point, so it's good. It says some great content.
Oh boy.
Yeah, here we go. Joe, check this out. He goes. He says, I love the roundtable discussions, so he'll like this episode. I think he likes it when we get together. So he's obviously listening to the feed. He goes, I love the roundtable discussions, and Rocky Minutes are cool.
Oh, nice.
However, he says,
oh no,
they just sort of. He goes, the Rocky Minutes are cool, but they just sort of spam up the feed and make it difficult to find more meaningful content.
Meaningful.
Basically, he's saying he's having a hard time finding my show. No, I'm just joking. Anyways, I thought that was
tables.
He likes the round tables. So let me just explain for our listeners who are on the iTunes feed, because I think it's the iTunes one that's maybe the most confusing, because every other pod chaser or pod collector just does sequential order of, like, when you release an episode, it comes out when it comes out. Whereas iTunes, if you put down a certain season number, it will be that season and then the number. But other feeds don't do that. Okay. This is my what I understand. But anyways, the point I'm trying to make is we have 3 podcasts on one feed. So they're all labeled as such, Rocky Minute, and they have lots of episodes coming out because we're trying to get, we are spamming it, but what we're doing is we're trying to get them all out as quick as we can so Doug can start rolling out Rocky Minute Season 3, which is Rocky 3. Craig has a SlyCast, and it's labeled as such, and then mine is Going the Distance, and we're covering the Creed films now. So we appreciate your patience while we kind of catch up to what will eventually be in a few months' time. I'd say 3 to 5 months' time. It will eventually be a steady, easy to understand rotation of where Rocky Minute will basically be Monday to Friday in that block. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Going the Distance will be Saturdays, and Craig will have the Sunday block for his show whenever that comes out. So that's it.
I already explained it on the leap years. So
yeah, every leap year. So again, I appreciate people's patience, but that's eventually how it's going to be. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Rocky Minute. Saturday, Going the Distance. Sunday, SlyCast. I think it's great. I think most people kind of understand that. Most people who listen to one listen to all of them. There's very few people like, screw Going the Distance, I'm only listening to SlyCast, which I understand that people do that, and that's fine. But I think that from most of the feedback we've been given, everyone's enjoying everything on one feed. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Doug. I do want to take a minute to thank this gentleman for their review, because
Absolutely.
As podcasters, reviews are so hard to get. Mm-hmm. So you either need somebody to really hate your show or really love your show, it seems, to get a review.
That's
and
true.
The fact that this guy took him, some time out of his day to go to whatever site he went to, iTunes, I think, and write up a review and hit submit.
Appreciate it.
We do, because so many. I do a bunch of other shows that nobody listens to, where you get no response, you get no reviews, and you really have no idea whether or not people are enjoying your show or not. So yeah, very, very. It seems like we get a lot of traffic, or at least a lot of reviews generated, and I think that speaks to the content.
Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Craig's absolutely right. It does help. You just took the time. That does help. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I want to thank the guy for the kind words about Rocky Minute being pretty cool. It is cool. Any positive feedback is good for me. But I understand that it does seem like you're getting a big dose of Rocky Minute at once. But that's, like Ryan said, it's not going to be forever. It's just to maybe get some new listeners, and the listeners might check out an episode here and there and not listen to the entire run. I mean, taking on an entire movie, doing one episode for 1 minute of screen time is quite the endeavor. So so thank you for being patient, and we got much better things ahead.
Awesome. All right, guys, thank you so much for everyone that joined us in the chat. Drew especially, thank you. We were hoping the next time we do this, we're going to do it again. So if you're listening to this on the audio feed, you're like, oh, crap, they actually did a live episode. Yes, we did. It was short notice because we didn't know if it was going to work or not, but it worked. No hiccups. Amazing. So join us in a month's time. We're going to try to do this once a month, so this audio feed will come out at the beginning of September, and then so forth and so forth. So we kind of record in the middle of the previous month to have it come out the first of the month on our feed. And so join us in the next one. We're going to throw out the votes again for the next 3 films that we'll review for September's recording. All right, guys. Anything else?
Thank you, Ryan. As always, you did an excellent job sort of steering the ship.
Thanks, guys.
You guys know how I love getting together with you guys and chatting it up. So this is just easy peasy for me.
All right, guys. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone, for watching. And you two don't hang up.